It's not about the gospel. It's about demonization. I'd like to start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rucha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is, it's not about the gospel, it's about demonization. Hashtag vocab Malone. And pretty much, probably about an hour ago or so, the elder Pastor had called me about a video that was live on Abu Kamar's page, and it was vocab once again fucking with the Israelites, and no matter how many times you tell this deaf adder, this big fat head snake, that we're not interested in talking to him, he just don't get it. And the reason why is because he was sent. And these so-called Christians do not practice what the scriptures say. They do whatever the fuck they want to do. Because if the case were that they were following the gospel, when you bring, your peace or whatever you want to call it to particular individuals and they don't want to listen to you, they don't want to hear you, they reject you, you're supposed to wipe the dust off of your feet and move to someone else. But no, this devil is incessant in fucking with us. And the whole thing is not about the debate of the Gentiles being the other nations or Israelite foreigners or, God and, the Most High and his son Yahushai being the same entity. Those are just talking points. It's really about demonization. And this is why, as I'm watching the video, what does Volker come out with? Because he ain't getting his way. Well, you guys want to murder people. You guys want to murder people. And it's in that video. I'm not sure exactly the time marker because it's still live, so it's kind of hard to find the exact spot, where he said that. But if you watch the video, and I'm sure the brothers out there in London also got a copy of it because they're going live. That's how the devil found them. You can find that within there, So the scripture that came to mind was when the Lord, spoke about, the Apostle Paul said, matter of fact, in the book of Romans, because I can go to another one that I had lined up, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to Romans, and I'll come back to this one, because like I said, it's all about demonization with these devils. It's not about the truth. It's not about the gospel. And if you ever thought that, get that out of your mind. It's not about the gospel. It's about demonization. This is what the scriptures say, Romans 12 and 19, because, in the heat of the moment, emotions are flying, so sometimes, you sitting behind the computer, sitting on your phone or whatever the case may be, thoughts will come to your mind what to say. But when you're in the heat of the battle, you might hit other points, because I was thinking, well, I would ask that big fat head snake, who does vengeance belong to? And if he's honest, he's going to say, well, it belongs to the Lord. So this is what it says, Romans 12:19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. And then you could hit him with, who is the Lord going to, exact this vengeance upon his enemies with? Now, before we go to that, I want to go to Nahum chapter 1 and verse 2. It says, the Most High is jealous and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. So the Lord is going to bring wrath. He is going to bring vengeance. All right. But who is he going to use to bring that wrath? Because it continues on to say, the Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. So there's going to come a day where vengeance is going to be brought upon the wicked. Now you have wicked among the nations, you have wicked among the Israelites, but you also have the nation that is the wicked, which are Edomites. So who is the Lord going to use to exact this vengeance upon these Edomites? All right, well, let's go to Ezekiel 25 and 12. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it says, thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance. Yeah, and when the Babylonians came and sacked Jerusalem, these devils went crazy. They were exacting their vengeance, from when they were in captivity under the Israelites. And I'm not sure if that was King Jotham of Judah that was in power when the Edomites rebelled or revolted against Israel to fulfill the prophecy in Genesis, the 27th chapter. All right. It says, thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. Therefore thus saith the Lord power, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom. So the Most High is going to be the one that gives the order of what is to be done with Esau and with the nations, and how their punishment is going to be meted out. It says, and will cut off man and beast from it. It says, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Dan shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. So you tell me, vocab, is that murder or is that retribution, payback, vengeance? Because the Lord said, wait upon him, because he's the one that's the place of vengeance is given to. So we have to wait on the Lord. But in waiting on the Lord, there's going to come a day where the Lord is going to exact his vengeance upon the enemies, his enemies, beginning with the Edomites, and he's going to use the Israelites to exact this vengeance upon these Edomites. So is that murder? Or is that vengeance? Because when you go to the law, right, if you kill a man or if you kill a person, right, and you're still alive after that person is dead, you would have to run and flee to the cities of refuge, because his family members would want to put you to death, So that's in the case of whether it was murder or whether it was an accidental death, So there's always going to be. So now let's say he did murder the person, right? Because of envy or whatever the case, his life was taken from him, because you would bring him before the judges and his life will be taken, at the witness of 2 or 3 witnesses, at the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, his life will be taken. So now if you take somebody's life for taking somebody else's life, is that murder or is that retribution, vengeance? You tell me. So going back to Ezekiel 25, because there's one more that I thought about. Spirit put on my spirit. Ezekiel 25:14 again, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. So who are you to say otherwise? See, the problem with Christianity, or plantation Christianity, and the problem with you devils, you Edomites, is that you've been in power so long that unless things are not dictated by you, you will not accept what is being said. You see? But we got news for you. The day of the Geechee is over. You know, your power is gone. You no longer have the sway over the earth as you once had. You no longer have that deception, the deceptive spirit over everybody on the planet Earth like you had at one time. You still have people that are, you know, deceived, but for the most part, you have some that are awoke and that see through your bullshit. All right? And you're not going to push, you know, that demonic vibration on us. We're not accepting that shit. All right? We don't recognize our authority. You have no authority over us. The authority over us is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. He dictates to us what goes down and what doesn't. He dictates to us what's real and what's not. He dictates to us what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Not you. So the sooner you get that through your thick head, which we know you ain't going to do it, the sooner you'll be able to rest at night, because you're not resting. You devils are not resting. For you to, you know, continue to fuck with the so-called nobodies that you claim to be nobodies, that means you're not resting at night. You know, matter of fact, let me get Proverbs real quick, chapter 4. You're not resting at night. You know, your sleep is from you, because you know that the power is being removed from your hands. You don't have that sway that you had at one time. And Lord's will, if I remember the next one, I'll bring it out. Because Isaiah 14, Lord's will, I can remember. Proverbs 4 and 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. So your sleep is taken away from you because you're losing that grip. You're losing the iron grip that you once had. It's not working anymore. You know, your influence on the world stage, your influence over the Israelites is waning. Your influence over the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, that you painstakingly, you know, destroyed, murdered, robbed their land, painstakingly, you know, sat there and put, you know, separated the families and took the young and trained them in your boarding schools and whatever other bullshit that you trained them in. It's slipping away from you. You took the younger generations and you indoctrinated them with this bullshit plantation Christianity, got the upper hand over us, and you had that on lock for centuries. But now you're losing that power because the Lord is stripping you from it. You know, but the Lord is so bad that he'll strip you a little at a time, when he could just strip you bare right away. He could just take you out, you know, in an instant. But the Lord is so bad that he's allowing you to think that you have a fighting chance. And he's stripping it away from you little by little. So your shit ain't working anymore. You know, we do not recognize your authority. You feel me? We don't recognize your authority. Yeah, I'm talking to you, vocab, and any of you other devils out there. We don't recognize your authority. Your authority means shit to us. All right? Isaiah 14 and 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressors ceased? The golden city ceased. So that influence that you once had is not as powerful as it once was. When you first started to, you know, take the world over during the Renaissance period. You had a very deceptive demonic spirit on you, which you still have, but the effects of your deception are not working like they used to. And especially now that the Lord, you know, has us, you know, waking back up from that slumber. And he has this information highway going out where all types of information and all types of truths are coming out, exposing you. All right? It said, the Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So the Lord is the one that's breaking your power. He's taking you from that, elite, state, that dominant state that you have, and that dominant grip that you had on the world at one time. He's stripping that away from you. You're not able to maneuver and wiggle your way around like you used to. And these are telltale signs that your system is about to implode within itself, and you're losing that grip. So the best thing you could do is try to hire clowns like Vocab and others to try to disrupt the ministry. But you're only going to get who the Lord does not want. It's a futile effort. You're not going. The scriptures say that the Lord hath reserved unto himself 7,000 men that will not bow the knee to the image of Baal. All right, so you will not get the elect, because if it were possible, you would deceive the very elect. But it's not possible, because the elect are sealed with the seal of the Most High, the sfragizo of the Most High, which is, synonymous with the word thawah in the Hebrew, which is the word mark in the English, which is the exemption from judgment. So the elect are sealed with that thawah / sfragizo, which is a seal, of the ones that the Lord has to be protected from, any deceptive tactics that you have, or any these traps that you set up for the world. But at one time you were winning, or you were coming off, you were winning, but not anymore. Not anymore. Them deceptive tactics are not working anymore. The Lord is breaking you down bit by bit. He's taking you down bit by bit. Your deception is not working anymore. All right? Just bear with me while I get this other precept. This is a goodie, oldie but goodie. We go to this from time to time. We know some of you may not be familiar with it. All right, this is Isaiah 25:7. It says, and he, meaning the Most High, that he is the Most High, will destroy in this mountain. What mountain? America. In the Bible, sometimes mountains are representative of actual mountains or hills, and sometimes it's a representation of governments, governmental structures, governmental establishments. Like you have something called a summit. What is a summit? Summit is the peak of a mountain, right? But what is also equated with summits? Different times during the year when these top governments of the planet come together, to hash out whatever differences they got to hash out, or pass whatever legislation they got to pass, for the so-called benefit of the world. And it's not a coincidence that they call it, a summit, because that's synonymous with what the scriptures call mountains. So in this mountain of America, which is the top mountain over all these different mountains that reigns over all these different nations, the Lord said he will destroy the face of the covering cast over all nations, over all people. What is the face of the covering? What is a covering? Something that you put over to hide something underneath it. Because the truth has always been there. It's been there and hidden in plain sight. But the problem is that the spirit to get the understanding of the very book that was in front of everybody was not there. Until the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua worked on a man by the name of Eldar Bivens, to bring out this truth that we have today, which they call the former One West doctrine. That's okay, you could call it that, because that was the building where this great, beautiful knowledge that we see today stemmed from. And it's from that little sanctuary, it spread through the whole world, and it's causing such a controversy, just like it did 2,000 years ago. because nothing else on the planet caused such controversy like this truth, you know. So what the Lord is doing is he's destroying that veil, that covering that you had over the world, and the Lord is peeling back. But the problem is that the deception was so great that most people are still caught up under there. And if that veil is not removed from your eyes, guess what? You're not going to be able to see. If you don't have the eye salve that the Lord Yahweh spoke about, you will not be able to see. If you don't have the glasses of truth of the Spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh on, you're not going to be able to see what the world can't see. You're not going to be able to see or accept this truth, because the spirit of truth the world cannot receive. But guess what? The elect can receive it, because they have a different spirit. They have a Caleb type spirit on them, a different spirit that allows them to see through the fog, right? Through the haze, through those dark clouds of deception. So it says, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So there's been a veil that's been put over all peoples, you know. And then when we go into the word revelation, the word revelation simply means the peeling back of a veil, you know, from particular individuals. But the thing is the veil is not going to be taken off from everybody. But the Lord let us know that there will be a peak into this, but very few will be able to get it. That's why it says that the truth is like a straight gate, very narrow, you know. And the very narrow part is that not everybody is going to be able to receive it. It didn't mean that everybody won't hear it, because Yahweh Shai said, this gospel shall be preached throughout the four corners of the earth, then shall the end come. You know, so the world is going to hear the message, but the world is not going to receive the message, because it doesn't hear the spirit of truth. It doesn't hear the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Their spirit, their mind is not opened to what's really going on, because they're either deceived by the religions of the day, or by the politics of the day, you know, or by the rat race, or, you know, the everyday, you know, chase for this dollar, which is the rat race, you know, or anything else outside in this world that is not allowing the full frequency of the Lord's message to enter into their subconscious, so that they can see what's going on. You see? So it goes on. Matter of fact, let's go to 2 Corinthians. So with vocab, that devil is a waste of time, but them devils are very disrespectful. You know, you tell them we don't want to talk to you, and instead of saying, you know what, I respect your wishes, you know, we're gonna go, you know, just wanted to come by and dialogue, but since you don't want to dialogue, we're gonna be out here. Yeah, like the brothers told him, you wasted your time coming out there. You came a long way for nothing. Last time you went over there, I don't know if that's the same time or a different time, you went out there and you couldn't find who you were looking for. But look, I don't know about you, but I don't have money like that just to be jet setting. You know, we're just getting by. You know, we can't. If we were to jet set like that, we'd be fucking dead broke. You know, we can't jet set like that. Okay, I'm gonna go to England because I'm gonna go see the Israel, whatever group is out there. I'm gonna go get with the Israelites, or next week I'm gonna go to another part of Asia or another part of so-called Europe. We don't have money like that to splurge and to go on, you know, on those, you know, vacation sprees like that, you know. So somebody, you know, is providing that money, or, you know, the followers. Them motherfuckers do have money. I'll say that, you know, especially women, you know. But somebody else is behind this whole shit, you know, because no way in hell anybody in their right fucking mind will continually go back and forth with individuals that they know, that they believe don't have the truth, but they keep going back and forth with them. And the guys say, we don't want to deal with you anymore. We're tired of your stale, you know, arguments. We don't want to deal with that no more. Move on. You know, and vocab, you know, as much money as he spent, you know, to get those degrees, he made a very stupid statement when he told, he mentioned to the brothers that they were going to call the cops on him. Would the Apostle Paul call the Roman guards to deliver him from the Pharisees? Yes. And I read that earlier in the lesson I did earlier, very short lesson, which shows you that this devil is not about the gospel. It's about demonization. Because when they can't get their way, what they do, well, you want to murder people. Well, wait a minute. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's see if I can find this verse real quick. Just bear with me. Right. This is the book of Deuteronomy 2 and 33. And the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, our power, delivered them before us, meaning this was Sihon, those Canaanite kings, and we smote him, put him to death. Is that murder? And his sons and all his people. You guys want to murder people. Well, wait a minute. What was it? It says, and we took at that time and utterly destroyed the men and the women and the little ones of every city. We left none to remain. So who told him to do that? The Most High did. So we're telling you, devils, matter of fact, let me get Psalms. We're telling you, devils, that when the time comes and the kingdom is established, we are going to exact vengeance upon you. You know, you think you're just going to get away scot-free from all the shit you did. You stole America, you killed the Native American Indians, raped the women, killed the children, indoctrinated the children, you know, did the same thing to all the other tribes that were here, brought the so-called Negroes to this side of the world, raped, robbed, and murdered them. You know, we're free like you had us working for free, and you think you're going to get away with all of that fucking, you just that special that you think you're going to get away with all that shit? Are you out of your fucking mind? Psalms 149 and 5. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Who are the saints? The Israelites. All we got to do is go to the previous chapter, and it tells you who the saints are. The word saint means holy. Why are we holy? Because the Lord gave us his laws, statutes, and commandments that separated us from these nations. That's what made us holy. It says, let them sing aloud upon their beds. Why? Because we don't have to get up for work anymore. You know, we'll be able to glory in the kingdom of heaven, which that's the glory, the kingdom of heaven. That's what we're striving and fighting for. That's why we're defending the gospel so vehemently as we are, because we're looking for the kingdom of heaven, for the Lord to deliver us and give us a rest from all of these different curses that we've been subjected to and the conditions that we've been subjected to live. It says, let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. What is a two-edged sword? It's not a letter opener, okay? It's not a quill where you sign off on something. A two-edged sword is just that, a two-edged sword. But it's not just a two-edged sword in the hand, right? Having a two-edged sword in your hand, there's going to be something that's going to be done with that instrument of war, that weapon. It says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people. Who's going to do this? The saints of the Most High are going to do this. You guys want to murder people. No, we want to do what the Lord said for us to do. And when the kingdom is established, that's when it's going to go down. Because we're directed here to obey the laws that be, as long as they're not in conflict with serving our power. All right? Just like Daniel, the prophet Daniel. You know, he was in total order with the Most High, and he was in total order with the Neo-Babylonian Empire, to where they couldn't find nothing. You know, from the Babylon to whatever the prophet Daniel did, they could find no fault in it. So that's why they had to turn to the worship of the Most High. That they'll find an infraction against the realm of Babylon if they found it in his, services or worship of the Most High. That's why they brought him up on charges, but the Lord delivered him. It says that the to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Because you're going into slavery. It don't matter if you accept it, believe it or not. You could call us deceivers. You could call us liars. It's okay. But it's still not going to stop the plans of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. You know, what did the Apostle Paul say? If my lie much more bound to the gospel or something along those lines, then so be it. I'm just merely paraphrasing. I believe that's Romans, the 3rd chapter. You know? Because we're being slandered, reported on that we're lying. But we're going to find out when all these things start coming to pass. Because one thing you can't stop is the prophecy. You can't stop the prophecies. You can't stop the word of the Most High. You could deceive the simple-minded. You could deceive the ones that are blinded, but you can't blind everybody. You could fool the people. You know, you could fool the people some of the time, but you can't fool, all of the people all of the time. Because you're going to have the elect of the nation of Israel that's not going to fall for your bullshit. All right? And you're mad because you're losing that power. You're mad because you're losing those deceptive tactics. Your whole in front of you, and you're so used to throwing money at stuff and fixing problems and getting rid of problems. Huh? But these problems you can't get rid of, because these problems come from a higher power than you are even remotely connected to, except for on the left-hand side. You have no spiritual understanding of what's going on. And when you don't understand something, you tend to want to destroy it. And that's why this devil vocab is on a demonization campaign. Because we don't want to accept your false Jesus, your other Jesus, that other white meat. Therefore, you want to say that we want to murder people. So it could be on record. And most people are not going to go into, well, wait a minute, they're murderers? That's what the stupid assholes out there are going to say. These guys are murderers, because their brain doesn't go past first gear. They're shiftless. Most of them are still in fucking neutral. They haven't even got to first gear, But that's all right. You keep doing what you're doing, because the scriptures the scriptures warn us about you, about the accuser of our brethren. And it says that if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, and whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not. And because you don't believe, guess what? You're going to be in delusion, and you're going to be destroyed. Then them vocab try to say, because brothers didn't want to talk to them, that they were cowards. And that the cowards are going to have their part of the lake fire, some shit like that. Well, look, we don't want to deal with you because we're not fools. Scriptures speak about if you debate a fool, you're going to be just like him. So just avoid that devil. You see? And this is why we don't deal with you, because the whole thing is not about the debate about whose gospel is right and whose gospel is true. I'm trying to bring you back to Jesus. No, you're trying to bring us back under that demonic vibration. We're telling you, no, thank you. We've been there already, done that. And we're finished with that. We're moving on. You see? So since you can't put your sway and your spell on us like you do on the rest of these clowns out here, you want to demonize us. Back then he was going around saying, you want to kill babies, don't you? You want to kill babies. Well, when you go to Psalms 137, it speaks about, it speaks about that. It speaks about babies being dashed against the stones, the Edomite babies. Is that not what they did to us? So is it not right for us to do that to them when the kingdom of heaven is established and we have the power over them? Is that not part of vengeance? Huh? Eye for eye, tooth for a tooth? The laws are going to be in full effect in the kingdom of heaven. Right now we have a grace period. So it's like the penalty for the law is somewhat paused a little bit, even though it's not, because the Lord is still bringing judgment. But it's somewhat on pause if you're under the protection of the blood of Yahweh and you're doing the best that you can. And you tend to go off, every once in a blue, and the Lord will have mercy. But other than that, judgment is still coming. So the Lord the law is going to be in full bloom when the kingdom of heaven is established. You see? So, you know, you got to watch out for that devil, because it's not about the gospel. It's about demonization. Hashtag vocab Malone. All right? So watch out for that devil. And those of you that got caught up in this bullshit, hey, I don't know what to tell you. You know? You're not one of the Lord's sheep. Because the Lord said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. A stranger will they not hear. That's a stranger if I ever seen one. And vocab is an Edomite until he proves otherwise. You know, because he's doing what an Edomite would do. He's doing the same shit that Haman did. You know? And what happened to Haman? His whole shit got turned upside down. And he ended up suffering what he tried to make us suffer back then. So with that, you know, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.